Hello, hello, welcome one and all wherever you may be. It is I, Reynard C. Fox, and today's vid is a little bit different. Though it does relate and is influenced by recent news or drama in and around YouTube, it is in and of itself not a news piece or necessarily a commentary on one specifically. So everyone by now has seen or heard of the controversy of PewDiePie faking a donation of $50,000 to the ADL, or Anti-Defamation League, then subsequently following up with a vid where he explains why he didn't post the donation. The first part, where he said he was going to make the donation, is something I feel many others like myself are still having a chuckle over, given the initial shock of the first video being posted.
Stop! I just wanted to interrupt this video because I need to make an announcement. Did you guys see the video I made where I celebrated 100 million subscribers? It was the video I was really excited about. I talked about my journey from going to 0 to 100 million subscribers. It did have a brand attachment to it, which maybe wasn't the most fitting place, but it was a cool product, so I thought it wouldn't matter. When we were planning the collaboration, we thought it would be nice to donate to a charity as a way to celebrate. I made the mistake of picking a charity that I was advised instead of picking a charity that I'm personally passionate about, which is 100% my fault. Usually when I pick a charity, I take my time, I find a charity that I'm really excited about and actually passionate to donate to. So when I uploaded the video talking about the charity, it was very brief and people could tell something was off. The whole internet just didn't believe it. Like, why is he donating to this charity? Look at his face. Full conspiracy mode.
This vid caused other YouTubers to point out Pew's shirt to be brandishing slightly the Maltese cross, or the Iron Cross as it's known, and then also caused others to then consider him to either be accidentally or purposefully trolling viewers and the ADL. For the rest of this video, I'm going to try my hardest to refer to the Iron Cross as the Maltese Cross as it is originally and historically known. For you see, the ADL lists the Maltese Cross as a hate symbol due to its use by the Nazis during Hitler's Third Reich, and then continuing to be used by neo-Nazis and skinheads in the decades following. Now, this vid is not about why it is or is not okay for you or myself, the individual, to wear this symbol, or why its origins, or past early historical origins, make it okay to still use it if it is not being used in its past context as a symbol twisted by the Nazis and Hitler. More so, this vid is going to discuss the origins of the cross, its current uses in mainstream Western society, and yes, it does have them in Western society, and to ask the question, why does the ADL still list it as a hate symbol when it is still being used in mainstream Western society, such as city fire departments, fire trucks, and ambulances? And finally, should the cross still be listed as said hate symbol when it's still being used in its current form as a symbol for good, helping, and even saving others? Now, everyone is familiar with the cross being associated with Nazi Germany, West Coast choppers, and bikers or biker gangs. But what of its true and oldest of origins? And what of its origin being associated with today's firefighters and ambulances and fire departments? I have from the webpage answers.com an article, What is the Meaning of the Firefighter's Maltese Cross, which we will delve into. I will also be reading from the webpage fireserviceintro.com, The Maltese Cross and the Fire Service by Micah Calfee, The History of the Maltese Cross. From Answers.com, the badge of a firefighter is the Maltese Cross. The Maltese Cross is a symbol of protection and a badge of honor. Its story is hundreds of years old, when a courageous band of crusaders known as the Knights of St. John fought the Saracens for possession of the Holy Land. They encountered a new weapon unknown to European warriors. It was a simple but horrible device of war. It brought excruciating pain and agonizing death upon the brave fighters for the cross. As the Crusaders advanced on the walls of the city, they were struck by glass bombs containing naphtha. When they became saturated with the highly flammable liquid, the Saracens would hurl a flaming torch into their midst. Hundreds of the knights were burned alive. Others risked their lives to save their brother in arms from dying painful, fiery deaths. Thus, these men became our first firefighters, and the first of a long list of courageous men. Their heroic efforts were recognized by fellow crusaders who awarded each hero a badge of honor, a cross similar to the one firefighters wear today. Since the Knights of St. John lived for close to 4 centuries on a little island in the Mediterranean Sea named Malta, the cross came to be known as the Maltese Cross. The Maltese Cross is our symbol of protection. It means that the firefighter who wears this cross is willing to lay down his life for you, just as the Crusaders sacrificed their lives for their fellow men so many years ago. The Maltese Cross is a firefighter's badge of honor, signifying that he works in courage, a ladder's rung away from death. Also from Answers.com, what does the Maltese Cross stand for? The Maltese Cross, originally from the Knights of St. John of Jerusalem, the Knight Hospitallers, who used the Christian cross as a badge on their shields, was adopted by the St. John Ambulance Brigade of today and also the fire service due to their object of service. It became known as the Maltese Cross because the Knights were given permission to settle in Malta, and it is now the emblem of that country in the Mediterranean Sea. This article continues to go on into the 8 points of the Maltese Cross and its religious meaning and significance in Christianity, which I will leave a link in the description for you to peruse yourself. Another article I have gathered is The History of the Maltese Cross by Mike Acalfi. One can easily find 100 websites that will tell you that the symbol of the fire service comes from the Knights of Malta and their battles with Ottoman pirates or the Saracens. The story is that these knights had a cross on their tunics and the Saracens used fire as a weapon against them. All of this is true. There were many of these knights who risked their lives to save their comrades or structures from the fires, but there is much more to the story than that. These knights were incredibly brave, and one battle has them winning against unbelievable odds. Please note this article is not meant to suggest that the current emblem of the United States Fire Service did not evolve from the cross of the Knights of St. John's. All the contributors and sources of the article suggest is how it may have done so and the history of these brave knights and the emblem. These Knights of Malta, there were Knights of Malta. In fact, they still exist, although this was not their actual name. A more proper name might have been Order of St. John of Jerusalem, Knights Hospitalier. This was the Benedictine order of monks that was founded around 1100 AD. They maintained a hospital in Jerusalem for pilgrims after the First Crusade. But soon after that, their mission became that of defense, and they later became a military order under its own charter, charged with the care of and defense of the Holy Land and pilgrims. After the loss of the Holy Land, Jerusalem fell. In 1187, this military order resided in several places. These locations included Rhodes and Malta. It is because of the many places they occupied that to this day they are known as the Sovereign Military Hospitalier Order of St. John of Jerusalem, of Rhodes, and of Malta. Quite a moniker. A small sovereign piece of land in Rome is said to house the remaining knights of this order. These knights were a major military force for hundreds of years. What about the fire? The use of the fire as a weapon became popular during the Crusades. Skill in glass blowing and other technologies made it possible to hurl flammable liquids, or what we might call Molotov cocktails, in quotation marks, down upon enemies attacking your battlements. The Knights of St. John were undoubtedly involved in such battles. Some of the more famous battles probably involved the Saracens. The Saracens used fire in many ways. Besides throwing firebombs, they would sail vessels containing flammables into Crusader ships. Many knights were reported to be courageous and heroic in their attempts to rescue their fellow knights in such battles and in the face of such a terrifying weapon. More about Malta. On August 15, 1309, the knights captured the island of Rhodes. A more famous order of military knights was the Knights Templar. This order was dissolved in 1312, and most of its property was given to the Hospitallers, now known as the Knights of Rhodes. They were forced to become a more militarized force, fighting especially with the Barbary pirates. They withstood 2 invasions in the 15th century, one by the Sultan of Egypt in 1444 and another by Mehmed II in 1480, who after the fall of Constantinople made the knights a priority target. In 1522, an entirely new threat arrived from Turkey when 400 ships under the commands of Suleiman the Magnificent, brought 200,000 men to Rhodes. To repel this force, the knights had only the walls of the city and about 7,000 men. The resulting siege lasted 6 months, at the end of which the survivors were allowed to leave Rhodes and retreated to the kingdom of Sicily. In exchange, the knights promised to leave Suleiman's minions in peace, but after a time they were once again fighting each other. The knights eventually moved to the island of Malta. They were allowed to relocate to the island of Malta under a 1530 order of Pope Clement VIII, but they had to pay rent to a feudal landlord, the King of Sicily. This rent consisted on 1 Maltese falcon, in quotation marks, a year. This historic fact was the basis of the plot of Hammett's famous book and the subsequent movie, The Maltese Falcon. They built large fortifications on Malta, including St. Elmo's Fort. Finally, they acquired the name the Knights of Malta. From Malta, they launched attacks on the Barbary pirates and became enemies of the Ottoman Empire once again. In 1564, Suleiman again set his sights on the Knights. He sent his armada of over 170 ships to Malta with over 40,000 well-trained troops and many thousand more slaves and mercenaries. Malta endured many sieges starting in 1565 but remained victorious. An amazing account of the siege of Malta can be found here, hyperlink. It was only in 1798 that Malta fell at the hands of Napoleon, but it was through trickery rather than military might. Napoleon asked for a safe harbor and then, once allowed inside the defenses, turned on his hosts. The order also had a rule that prohibited fighting with other Christians. They had also previously lost much of their property and resources because it was in France and had been confiscated. Members of the order were given shelter in various countries. It has survived in several forms since then. The Sovereign Military Hospitalier Order of St. John's of Jerusalem, of Rhodes, and of Malta, better known as the Sovereign Military Order of Malta, or SMOM, is a Catholic order which claims national sovereignty and has been granted permanent observer status at the United Nations. Its claims of sovereignty are not without dispute. SMOM is considered to be the most direct successor to the medieval Knights Hospitalier, also known as the Knights of Malta, and today operates as a largely charitable and ceremonial organization. There are several other organizations who attempt to capitalize on the name and call themselves Knights of Malta. What about the cross? By all accounts, the Knights of Malta did wear a medieval cross. It looked something like this, which there will be a link in the description where you can look at the image that they've given. Also, I've included a slide of the most current Knights Hospitalier, and you can see the cross that they wear on themselves and the similarity between it and today's modern fire departments, as well as the emblem on the West Coast choppers, the Iron Cross which the Nazis used, and so on and so forth. So the point of this video was to inform and discuss the origin of the Maltese or Iron Cross and show of its current uses. And another reason for this video was to inquire to the ADL. Given that you still have the cross listed as a hate symbol on your webpage, and only in outlining its current history as far back as the early 20th century, and only to do with Hitler, the Nazis, and their twisted interpretations of the cross, would you consider including the cross's prior as well as contemporary history in European as well as Western society? Or might you remove and cease regarding it as a hate symbol? Doubtful, given in the US, Canada, and I'm not too sure about the UK, it is the current emblem and badge for firefighters, trucks, and ambulances nationwide. Somehow, folks, outside of your own, I think in terms of the ADL, this inquiry as well as little lecture will be wasted on deaf ears. But not to worry, hopefully you enjoyed it. This has been a little bit different from my other videos being newscasts, but given the drama surrounding YouTube PewDiePie and the cross in his second video when he retracted that $50,000 donation, I thought it'd be fun to do a little video talking about the Iron Cross and its history prior to Nazi Germany, as well as its current uses in contemporary society today that are not hate symbol related. So anyways, I really do hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, comment, or subscribe. If you have any suggestions for videos or news pieces you would like me to do, please comment below or send me an email to centristfox@gmail.com. Again, this has been Reynard C. Fox. Thank you for joining me, and remember to never give an inch and to never give up. Thank you very much. Have a good night.